Hey, Dorothy, welcome to Nonprofit Live.
Thank you. I'm so glad you invited me.
Oh, Dorothy, I could talk to you all day long. I know we always have such good and deep conversation. And
Yeah.
I was so glad when you agreed to come talk to the nonprofit community in the Big Hearted group and in the Magnify Your Mission community because we have a lot of fun when
Yeah.
we get in front of an audience talking about changing the world.
Yeah. I bet. Yeah. I haven't had a lot of chance to check in with you on your group page, but I'm really happy to be here today.
Yeah. Well, thanks. And Kelly says, Dorothy, you've got a fan out there. But we knew that. Hey, Kel. Um, I know that you've spent some time, and we actually kind of wanted to start talking a little bit about how we've connected.
Mhm.
And of course, Kelly is the center of that. So great that she's
Yeah.
here with us tonight
Yeah.
to talk about the power of persuasion.
Right. Yeah. So you want me to start with that then?
We're going to dive in, but listen, we got to talk about why it's important first.
Okay. All right.
Right? I mean, you've
Yeah.
taught me so much. You've helped me look at, um, I've studied social movements and community building my entire professional life, my student and professional life.
Mhm.
I studied political science and social movements, and I always intuitively understood fundraising in the form of bringing people together in
Mhm.
social movements. But when I met you, Dorothy, and when I started talking to you, I really started to understand the power of that in totally different ways. You
Mhm.
helped me see that it's the how we bring people together really matters, and it's how we connect with people is
Right.
an important part of that.
Right, because we often have a chance to meet people all the time. I mean, you can go anywhere and meet people, but you need something to kind of connect us, but not just connect us to be a cohesive, to something to glue us together a little bit,
Yeah.
where we can stay connected even when we're apart. So we need something just to plug in with each
Yeah.
other.
Why our universes make sense together, right? Well,
Right.
in political science, we call it tribalism.
Mhm.
Certainly, is this notion of getting people together around things they care about,
Right.
values they have.
Right.
So let's talk about how we connected. So
Okay.
I know you and Kelly have been friends and have connected in the community and fell in love talking about. I mean, Kelly, every time she talks about you, it's kind of that critical eye you give to how we influence one another, and the
Right.
fact that we're always out there being fed information, absorbing information, but also sharing information, right?
Right. And I don't want to be the heavyweight on that side because Kelly has evoked a lot of thought thinking on my side from things she has said to me. She once asked me when I first met her what I was specifically doing in my classes to teach my students empathy. And wow,
It made you think about it.
I walked away from that question thinking, what am I doing? Like, really, what am I doing? And that caused me to change how I taught argument and research in ways I never expected from that one question. So,
How you incorporate empathy into
right.
the persuasion strategy.
And not just something we talk about on a surface level. I had students investigate um, other people's perspectives. So it was a really deep question for me too. Like how am I doing it? And so you never know who's going to touch you. Again, just like I said, you just don't know where you're going to stick together.
Yeah.
And but if you do know, all the better.
Well, the more you're aware of it, right?
Yes.
The more
Yeah.
you're able to create more of it.
Right.
Um, we talk so much about community building, but really going, as you said, below the surface to
Mhm.
how do you do it? What are the nuts and bolts of it?
Right.
Um, I think there's real, so all right, let's back up. So we met, you and Kelly really had some provocative conversation, got you thinking about what you were doing in the
Mhm.
classroom, but of using empathy as a tool to connect with one another. But sounds like it helped you reshape the way that you started talking to your students about it, because you were teaching at Robert Morris up until not that long ago, right?
Right.
In Western Pennsylvania.
Right. And there were things was already doing,
Mhm.
questions was already asking students, but that particular question was almost like, let me go around and look at the world through your eyes for a moment, and now you go do that too. So yeah, that just changed a lot of things for me, and it actually still does. I still think about empathy, and I've known Kelly for a number of years now, and I honestly don't think that question will ever leave me. It just won't.
Well, it certainly was so interesting that you have been gracious enough to come in and work with my students in the classes I teach at Penn State Beaver as a guest lecturer, helping students really think through uh, just that, how they're engaging in the world
Right.
and the tools they bring together. We've got some folks listening in. Dorothy, this is exciting. Look, we're diving right in. This is what we do when we get together. We can't help it. It's so exciting when we can bring this conversation and get people thinking a little bit differently on how they're operating out there and how they're
Right.
connecting with their
Right.
people. But Jay is here. Hello, hello. Good to see you tonight. And Leslie, hey, Dorothy and Amy, you guys, listen. This is 7:30. You're cooking tonight. Hey, Keith. Good to see you. You are here. I'm so glad. And Keith is a community organizer, so
Mm,
this is going to be really relevant to
yeah,
Keith as he's out
great.
there in Texas,
Right.
bringing some people together around common things they care about. It's
Mhm.
so important. So, Dorothy, I teach two classes at Penn State. I teach political ideologies,
Mhm.
so everything from communism to fascism and everything in between.
Mhm.
Um, and I also teach civic and community engagement.
Mhm.
And I love that you are willing to come in and talk to students about setting up the conversation in understanding how we connect with one another and the tools we can use, including empathy.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you how much my students absolutely love the session you bring
Oh,
to the
good.
table,
Good.
um, because it's something they can relate to. It's something that they connect with. I can start to try to understand what it's like to stand in somebody else's shoes.
Mhm.
And once we start to practice that and do that, things really start to shift out there.
Yeah. Yes. That's absolutely true. But before we can do that, we have to back up and figure out why we stand in the shoes we stand in. And
Mm.
that's always been my starting point, and why I teach everybody my favorite big word. Um, so if we don't know who we are and what we represent to the world, then I don't know how we'll ever make connections with other people. But that's always my opening line, like, um, how did we get where we are, individually,
Mhm.
as a country, as an organization, however you want to look at it. Um, I don't know if you want me to jump in at this point with my ontology
Yeah,
or.
what's the big word? Yeah, let's
Yeah.
break it down.
So I have this favorite big word that I not only teach all students, I tell everybody this word. This is my favorite big word, and it's ontology. And ontology is the study of being. And sometimes it's the study of the nature of reality. But there was one German philosopher who I was required to read in my doctorate program, named Martin Heidegger. And he thought we should start philosophy from the point of being. here we are. And not only are here we are, but we have to look at the actual here we are.
Mhm.
So we have to look at our beingness and the world that we're faced with. And so we talk about that. I talk about that with students, and we discuss what that world might look like. What are those influences that affect our way of being in the world? Because we all have a way of being. We all walk through this world uh, with a certain way of being. We do things in certain ways. I have 4 sons, and boy, you would have thought they had different parents. you know, they are very, very different from each other. Um, but we are faced with a world that we are in. So we need to examine how we got to this point where we look at the world in certain ways, because that affects a lot of things down the line, which we're probably going to hit on as we go along in our discussion. Um, so I usually ask students what they think those things are in the world that influence our way of being. So because I don't want to just be the lecturer, I'm not interested in putting my opinion on students, because they have their own way of being in the world, and I want them to think about um, their lives and their points of view.
Yeah, you're about creating that container so they can explore these critical steps. And what I hear you saying is the first one being understanding sort of what your influences are, your way of being in the world, before you can possibly start thinking about how it connects or jives with another's, or
Absolutely.
with a larger group.
Absolutely.
I think that sacred space that you talk about and that you really construct for students to give space. And I mean, I see you students light up in front of you. It's pretty amazing. That alone is creating community. You're creating a container for people to feel safe enough to think about, hey, I wasn't born a Republican or a Democrat. I wasn't born passionate about this issue or that issue, that theoretically my life experiences have influenced. And so, yeah, what are those life experiences that influence us? We should ask our listeners, what do you guys think?
Absolutely.
As you like to say, you don't like to answer all the questions, but what are the things that you have experienced growing up or in your life that affect who you are? What do you think? We got somebody trying to get in. Oh, listen, joining from VFW Post 1136. Good to have you. It doesn't say your name, but good to have you. It is a nice fall night for some Yingling. Western PA favorite.
Wow.
So I know that in class and when we talk about it, it was a big awareness for me when I discovered that I'm not my worldview, my beliefs.
No.
But I got to be honest, Dorothy, I was probably 40 when I figured that out.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
I thought
my,
those things were so black and white, so true that
yeah,
it took me a minute to say, oh, I probably believe those things because X, Y, and Z happened to me.
right. Absolutely. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I've been both a Republican and a Democrat. So
You're the Pisces in the group. But
I am like, yeah. And that's another thing that is my way of being in the world. And I joke with students about that, because Pisces, uh, the symbol for Pisces is the two fish swimming in opposite directions. And I always told students that it's because my very nature is I have this ability to see both sides of an issue as explained to me by people. Now, I'm not saying I always agree with them, but I can always kind of see how they got there.
mhm.
And part of it may be my upbringing. I'm number 5 of 9 children, 4 older, 4 younger, kind of balancing the older kids and the younger kids. So yeah, my way of being is I'm always looking this way, looking that way. And not all people agree with that. Like I have a sister who's like, yeah, that's kind of two-faced. But I have to tell you, for my job, it has been a saving grace because I can allow students to write papers and talk about issues that they feel passionate about and give them room to explore those ideas and take a scholarly approach and first correct grammar and punctuation and all that. But then ask them questions like, hey, so if you're going to say this, what's your evidence? You know, and I don't have to nail anybody to the wall. I can let them nail themselves to the wall,
Mhm.
you know, and just say that if you're going to say this, you have to show me your evidence, you know,
That's
because I can't move forward until we do.
yeah.
And once they go searching, if there's more, they'll bring it back. But if it's something that's been an opinion for them, it's that moment where they're like, wow, you know, it's because that's what I've always thought or I've always believed.
Yeah, when we go deep enough, you really start to challenge. And listen, this whole concept of looking at yourself first in that process is really important, and it does tie to community building and fundraising. Because
Mm-hmm.
in order to really reach and connect with somebody, so much so that you're going to inspire them to take an action or change
Yeah.
a behavior, or God forbid, consider a different point of view, which these days is
Yeah.
harder to do. I know it's hard for me to do.
Yeah.
It has to start with good listening, and that has to start with that self-awareness. Jay is pointing out that it is true when the country is so divisive, the need to listen more has never been more important, and to connect with people. That's really what it's about.
Right. And if you listen long enough to people, and I know it's hard, um, like,
Be honest.
yeah, no, you know, I actually learned this from students because students had a lot of excuses for doing things or not doing things. And I discovered if I was silent long enough,
They get
most
there on their own.
yeah, most people tell you more than they intend to. And you know, maybe they would tell on themselves like, you know, oh, I really was out at a party. But also people in other ways tell you more. They start opening up a little bit more and revealing a little bit more if you give them a half a chance. um People like to be heard, you know, and if you listen, people are going to tell you things. So don't underestimate that skill. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, the pause and listen. I had an interesting situation that that happened to me out at the post office. I was in a public place recently and got into a confrontation with somebody over wearing a mask and standing pretty close to me without a mask. And when I reminded, there were signs all around, this gentleman really got angry. I mean, really, really angry. And I really took a moment to think about what you would say in that situation, which is, if you can observe and really, really hear and listen to what's going on, you might actually learn something. It took, I was a little bit of shock more than anything. But
Yeah.
in that shock, it was really kind of easy to say and be curious. What is this person's experience that they feel so threatened and so scared? And that is real. That reaction they're having is real, regardless of my judgment of it. Um, you
Yes.
know, that
Yeah.
that's
And what it might be rooted in, because it's just speculation on your part, you know. But if you listen, you know, but he did talk to you later, didn't he? I remember the story correctly.
So yeah, it kind of came. Well, it was a lot of yelling, and then it was some derogatory comments, and almost a moment of calm of trying to regroup, and then more frustration, even to the point where he stormed out and yelled at my dog in the car. Cute
Oh,
little Riley. I mean, come on. But you know, I'm a school board member, so I've been hearing it a lot,
yeah.
and sometimes it's easier than other times for me to remember my job really is to listen and to take that into consideration. But for whatever moment that explosion really, it was kind of a neat experience in that my instinct was to listen and try to see it objectively,
Mm-hmm.
um, and work with other people in the community to observe it. You say something that I just find so genius, and I know that in the nonprofit collab, the group of nonprofit leaders we work with, we talk a lot about this, is that you'll never convince people to change their opinion, to change their behavior for your reasons.
Mm-mm.
They will only change them for their own.
That's right.
And I've heard you tell students this, and you and I have talked about this extensively.
Yeah.
It's a really important point.
It really is, because people are in the world to please themselves. That's just human nature,
Mm-hmm.
And if you come along and say, well, please me. Yeah, not so much. That's not our nature, you know? So you need to have a way to connect with people. You can't do that if you're the one doing all the talking. You have to listen. You have to observe. You need to look at people's body language. And, this is stuff that I've just involved myself in over the years. Here's a little trick for your listeners today. If you want to know what people are thinking, or at least have a sense of what they're thinking, the feet don't lie. The feet don't lie. If their feet
Right.
are pointed at you, you're okay. If their feet start moving in a different direction, they're thinking about leaving. The feet don't lie. There's
Yeah.
been research on that, especially like in the bar scene,
Mm-hmm.
which way a person's feet are pointing. But in meetings, especially impromptu meetings in the hall, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or where you've just caught people, um, check their feet out real quick.
Isn't that interesting? I
Yeah.
should have taken you canvassing with me, Dorothy, when I ran for office and knocked 8,000 doors. That would have been, I should have been looking at their feet.
Yeah.
I could have done a bit better tally
Yeah.
of where people were going to land.
But people are always communicating.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I believe the statistic is 80% nonverbal and 20% verbal.
Mm-hmm.
So people are always communicating more than they realize, sometimes more than we realize. But if you kind of open yourself up to those, to noticing those things, that's helpful, because we're talking about persuasion. We are. Let's be realistic. That's the goal of this particular conversation, the power of persuasion. So you need to be reading the signs all the time. The other thing is the use of pronouns. Now, if you say I do this and I do that and we kind of know where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can get people, see, I just said it, if we can get people to use the word we, if you can get people to use the word we in connection with your goal, your nonprofit, what you do, what we do for the community, you draw them a little closer to you.
Uh-huh.
So watch how people use pronouns. So
To get
all those
attention.
kinds of things.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like to say they come for the cause, but they stay for the community, right?
Yes.
It has to, and Kelly's saying it, folks have to have their needs met. You know, It's not that when we talk about prioritizing and really giving donors or your community that you're bringing together, your army of supporters, as we like to call it, including our donors, you have to understand they're there for their own reasons. And when you want to tell them what time your programs are or how to register or about your next fundraising dinner or whatever you think your job is to talk about, I can't emphasize enough, it's a much smaller fraction than you think it is. Yeah. It needs to be more time building those relationships. And when you can be one-on-one, when you are knocking doors and you can read somebody's feet, that is really important.
You're all going to remember that.
I'm never going to forget it. My closing rate's going to go up now for my major donor one-on-one. And we have to learn how to do that beyond the one-on-one model, right? We have to do that one-to-many where we are really speaking and creating that container where people can connect with one another and learn more about you as an organization and as a leader without you giving that designated one-to-one at the door, right. 30-second to 5-minute conversation, because that's what we call persuasion door knocking. Right. You're looking at a 5 to 7 minute conversation. If you're lucky enough,
if you're lucky. Yeah.
If you find somebody who wants to connect, that math is tough to scale. One thing for doing it through a campaign, but when you're building an army of supporters to drive big change in your community, you've got to be able to have that intimate, sacred community container where people feel heard and they're able to listen to one another without, through digital communication, through using social media, through even the classroom, Dorothy. When you're teaching in a classroom, you're connecting with, one-to-many.
Absolutely. And every class I've taught has its own personality. So, that's another thing to be mindful of. When you gather certain people together, you have a certain personality with that group. So again, you have to kind of read the room. In every relationship, there's an alpha. There just is. There's always somebody who's going to take a lead, and you have to know. You have to watch for those things also. So connecting with a group of people can be a great joy. But if you have someone who's just not buying what you're selling, it could be problematic, and I've seen it in the classroom. So
I think that's why it's really important to know, what those values are of your organization and speak very openly and assertively about them so that your people know if they're in the right space or not.
Exactly.
And if they're not, they're able to leave.
Exactly. That's really true. I'm actually leaving a position that I recently took, and I've spoken to you about that. Because it is the wrong fit for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't know until you've been there for a while. And that happens in any group. There's going to be some who just kind of figure out, like, I don't belong here. But you don't want those people to lead others away who might be happy to be there.
You end up putting your energy not into your people and into your tribe, and instead trying to, connect in a misaligned way with people that just aren't aligned with your values. It's really important. People are probably tuning in saying, what the heck does this have to do with, Amy's always talking about nonprofits and fundraising and community building. But this is the root of community building. We have to learn new ways to bring people together, especially in the divisive climate that Jay's talking about, that we're facing in this country.
Right. And it's okay to let people go sometimes. Sometimes they go permanently, and sometimes they just go for a while.
Yeah, that's so true. You're not for everybody, but excellent point. It doesn't mean it has to be a dramatic clothes, it can simply mean not right now, not for this, right? We're just
Right.
gonna put you on the shelf over here for a little. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, because speaking of being so polarized, it's not necessary to look at the world like that all the time. Yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. Answer me right now. Yes or no. It's again, and there's my personality coming out, like, okay, it's okay. It's okay. Go ahead, go. It's okay. You want to come back? It's okay.
let's see if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's evaluate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, oh, that's really important stuff. As far as, and I think for nonprofits, it's hard sometimes to think about declaring your values and being uh, making strong enough statements that you will move people away from you. You are either attracting or repelling. And when you're community building, you have to understand that's the strategy, because it's intentional. Your messaging becomes intentional. When you're raising money, we work with a great organization, Neighborhood North, here locally. That's a children's museum, and I love this example. It's or when you look at social movements like Cesar Chavez, right? It's never been about the lettuce. It's always about the people,
Right.
right? It's always about the people. And what Kelly said earlier is their needs have to be met. And so when you can connect around, you're not just selling a children's museum, you're actually trying to solve the problem of equity in education, of creating a fair playing ground for people to have a chance to better their lives. It's much more important than even a museum, and that's pretty important. So I don't say that lightly, but it's even bigger than that.
Right. Absolutely. I've recently been playing with an idea myself about starting a nonprofit, because I love teaching people to write. And I've taught at the college level, and it's been wonderful, and I've loved it. But my heart has always turned towards people who have been disadvantaged. And I've talked about possibly in the future starting some sort of after school program, to help. I've run across a lot of people, young people lately, who have shown great interest in learning more. And yet, because of the current COVID climate, it's been difficult for them. But it's not about what I want. I'm seeing like, oh, I could give you something that you want and you need. And, so I agree with you totally. It's not about, I mean, yes, I have the background. Yes, I have the experience, all great. Yay, yay for me. But it's not that. It's a very symbiotic relationship. What can I offer to you? And I think we need to keep that in mind,
Important.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think our donors and our supporters, or even our neighbors, our donors and supporters, they're ATM machines. And we focus so much on saying, thank you for giving, thank you for helping, thank you for supporting. When in reality, if it's a symbiotic relationship, it's much more balanced than that. There shouldn't be an inequity in feeling like they've done this overly gracious thing. No, you've provided them an opportunity that they're excited to take advantage of. There's a difference.
Right. And I think people want to help other people. I really do. I think there's something in us that wants to give when we can, wants to join the community, wants to be a part of something bigger than ourselves, to make an impact on the world.
My mom was my first community building teacher. My mom knew how to bring community together, and there was always a full house, and there was always a reason to be there. There was always something happening, and I remember one weekend she ended up getting 10 of my friends over to help decorate the house for the holidays. We had a party, and we were all decorating the tree, and I'm thinking, how the hell did she do this? How did she end up getting all these people here just by offering some pizza and a certain time of day? And sure enough, as she's talking to people, she's putting them to work. And I think that's to your point.
She offered more than food.
She offered more than food, right?
She did. Yeah.
She offered a role. She offered something to do, and then
fun.
And some fun.
Yeah, fun and connection. And
the fun is a really important part. It's not just about talking about the leaky roof or the pieces of information you need your readers to get. They need to engage with you in a fun way. And giving people a purpose is some of the most powerful, most loving things you can do in bringing community together. If you're so worried about what you're saying or what your email is going to say or what your campaign is going to be about, you're not listening to the opportunity to really give somebody a meaningful role in the mission.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? We're all storytellers. We are. I bet that those friends of yours still remember doing that. I bet they do. I bet they remember. Oh, remember that time when Mrs. So-and-so invited us all over and we did this? People are storytellers, and they want interesting chapters in their lives, and that's another connection we can make. People want stories. People don't want to live dull lives.
Yeah.
We think we do. We think we want to sleep in forever and sit on the couch and do nothing, but we don't.
Yeah.
We want those connections. We want those trials and tribulations that we can conquer and do it together, and see needs that we fulfill. And we're storytellers. We want to be heroes. We do. And if we can persuade people that this is a great spot to invest your time, your energy, your money, your efforts, and you can be a hero, maybe not a big one, but little ones are pretty good too.
Yeah. And then a hero in your own life, right? If nothing else, a hero in your own journey. I love that. I love that if you hit all of those things, they can get involved. They can give money. They can connect. They can attend. If the more points you engage in, the more loyal and because people are giving, their chances are they're giving to other organizations too.
Yes.
And it really is our job to be honest about that. We need to convince them not to care about our cause. You need to find people who already care. But once you do, you need to convince them that you're the leader, you're the organization that's going to move that ball down the field, that's going to start to get results.
Right. I just believe that people want to be included. I honestly do.
I think Jay agrees with you too. People are craving community, especially in this post-pandemic age. That's the truth. When I work with any organization that's about connection, whether it's mental health or education, that's where the money, if we can get this infrastructure bill passed, I don't know, Dorothy, but if it does pass, I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to see areas of connection, whether it's childcare or healthcare or home healthcare. It's still going to be about connecting people to what they need, but also with that emotional connection piece.
And where they can give. Yeah, what they need and where they can give.
And where they can give.
And I mean more than just money. I mean even emotionally, and with their efforts and their time and all that. People want to give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really important. People want to give. If we can make it really obvious that we're the right investment and we make it so easy for them to give, and then leave them, make it fun and enjoyable and personal, and then wanting to come back for more. That's the momentum engine. When people say, how are you going to help me increase my fundraising? We're going to back it up and build these nuts and bolts of the community building, because that's the foundation that's going to lead to predictable and sustainable revenue, not just good campaigns here and there or kind of getting by. We need to really give you the ramp up, right? So that money's coming in easier when you're communicating and you're engaging well. The resources you need, the partnerships you need, the money you need shows up in different ways and a lot easier.
Right. You know, there's a
I like
saying,
easy, Dorothy, easy fundraising. That's what I like.
yeah, there's a saying that people will forget what you said to them, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Listen, Dorothy, that's what Jay just posted in the
Oh,
comments. You guys are on
wow.
the same cosmic plane. The
But
two
it's
of you.
true.
It is
It's
people.
true.
It is true. And it's hard to remember because we get in our own head. Like, did I say it perfectly? Did I say everything I needed to say? Did my 7 paragraphs get across my whole point? Nobody's reading your 7 paragraphs. They're just not, you know.
No, they're
What,
not.
what did I think you've said? This whole notion of rhetoric, right? As you're a student, a professor of rhetoric, and it's the combination of facts and emotion and information, but facts alone aren't gonna do it.
Right. Yeah. It's a three-pronged approach to rhetoric. You have to be a credible person, first of all. And if you've done your homework, then you probably are. Your message has to be logical and orderly. And you guys spend a lot of time doing that. But the kicker is you have to make that emotional appeal to your audience. You have to do it. You have to meet them where the rubber hits the road for them.
For them.
For them. Yeah. And if you can, and you can't do that if you don't know who you're talking to. You just can't.
You're going to say things, but you don't know if it's going to fully connect. I mean, that's why we do the exercises around who is your dream donor. You've got to give that some thought. You don't sit down and just start writing appeals or start putting events together. You have to really think about who are our people and what would they want to hear about, and how can we be honest and vulnerable with them so they are part of our journey. Nonprofit leaders in particular, man, we are hard on ourselves. It's like we got to have all the answers, you know, in a wickedly changing landscape.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure.
Oh, I'm sure. I wouldn't trade places with you.
The good news is you can take some of the load off by just being honest with your people and saying, we're figuring this out. This is what we know. This is where we need to go.
Right.
It can actually be emboldening.
Right. And if you're going to go through all those exercises of figuring out who your dream donor might be, you're just doing what I suggest. You know, how did this person come to be this way in the world? You know?
That's right. That's right. Those are some of the questions we ask. What do they care about? Who do they like to hang out with? Why do you think they like to hang out with you? We even ask that.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
And Dorothy, we just have one more day for folks to reach out and learn more about working with me and the team in the Magnify Your Mission program. So I want to make sure to remind the group that tonight's the night.
Tonight's the night.
Tonight's the night. We're going to give you through tomorrow morning to reach out, make your decisions tonight. Kelly is joining in, yes, and giving folks a chance to feel like a hero creates a very special bond. I think that's, it's really true. Yeah.
It is. I mean, think about all the movies that are made. You know, there was a man, and I don't remember his name. I want to say Campbell. Anyway, he did his research was on the hero's journey.
Joseph Campbell.
That's what I thought. Yes. Yeah. And every culture has hero stories. Every culture. And there's just something about it that stirs our emotions. And, you know, some of us are willing to be little heroes too. We really are. You know, we really want to help. And but we have to connect. We have to find the best place to offer that help. And some nonprofits have to come find us. You know, that's the truth of the matter. You have to go find those people who may not know where to look. And yeah, it is persuasion. It's a little bit of selling. It's like offering a gift, like I have this beautiful thing that I want to share with you. And you got to keep that in mind. If you don't think it's beautiful and worth offering to somebody, when I taught public speaking, I used to tell my students, don't ever stand up in front of me and expect your audience to feel more passion, more enthusiasm, or more interest for your topic than you're willing to share with us.
You bring the
We
energy.
can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do it. So yeah, you have to do a little selling, but people want to be heroes. They do.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point in generating that passion and excitement is really, it's part of the role of the leader to help rally people around. And so much of what we talk about and practice in the collab is that messaging that calls your people to you. Cause it is an ongoing exercise. And what we can't do to nonprofit leaders is simply say, oh, great, now add this to your job description, because they're already up to here. So we have to shift the perspective that it's not a task or a doing. It's simply operating and sharing your story as you go. And we've got to make it more intuitive, I think.
Yes, I was going to say it's more of a knowing. It's more of a knowing where you no longer, like, I don't think about people's feet in the same way you guys are going to be looking. I'm much more casual about it, like I don't even have to know the people to see what's happening,
You can tell from the way.
Yeah, it's just something I've done for many, many years, ever since I learned that. It's a knowing. It's a knowing. And you want to move from it being a task, because every time we learn something new, it's a task.
That's right.
For it to be a knowing, where it's just your way of being in the world. It's your ontology. That's how you are. That's what you do. That's how you operate. And it is a skill for sure. But, I can't offer people everything I know and the same back at me. But, we can trade what we know. I can give you, a couple tools to put in your back pocket so you can leave me. And I would tell students this. I can't teach you everything I know about reading or writing, but I can teach you one way. So when you leave me, and you're going to leave me, you can take this with you. So, and that's what you are offering people. Like, you can't teach them everything, but you can help them have a new skill set that they can begin working with, and it can become a knowing for them, a knowing. And they don't have to think like consciously, oh, I need to say this at this time. I need to write this. I need to act this way. It becomes more natural. And I think that's great. I think that's great that you're offering people more skills to take home with them. So,
yeah, it's important, giving people the confidence to own their power and then to message that power. Yeah. We don't talk a lot about power in society. That's what I love about civic engagement class. And when this segment, we're talking about using your public voice. And we all have access to power. We just have to understand how it's divided up. And as a nonprofit, we don't have the power of wealth. We don't have the power of force, but we have the power of the people. And and that's what we have to really understand is the building blocks in order to increase attention and visibility, and then to command action and partnership support, because that is a beautiful thing about our sector. It is collaborative. The quote that I love and used above in the comments, this, if you want to go far, go alone. I'm sorry, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far and make meaningful difference, it's together we have to go.
Yes.
And it's not always the fastest way. It's not always the fastest way.
But it's more long lasting. It's an impact. You're changing lives. You're changing lives.
We're changing the conversation for sure. Kelly's got what is it? Maybe a weird question. I like it already. It starts with maybe it's a weird question, so I'm interested. Dorothy, but what was the last organization cause you donated to and why? Great question.
Let me think about that. It's been a while because COVID's really taken a hit.
I think I saw one online.
I know it was Simon.
Yeah.
It was Simon. Yeah, because I'm that's my heart is helping girls. To be honest,
Yeah.
young women of color. That is my heart.
That's your top priority.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Empowering young women of color.
yeah, yes.
So Simon's in our community and he is in Tanzania and he is working and teaching entrepreneurial skills to young men and women, but his campaign right now is focused on women.
Yeah.
And his messaging has come such a long way. And of course, he's trying to do it globally, build his community globally. So your donation, I know, meant the absolute world to him. And what a cool vote of confidence.
I know. And it was so funny because I didn't feel like I gave a lot. Like I've been working and I've only been paid a very small amount because of the pay cycles. You know how they're always one or two behind. So I had very little to really give. And he was so thankful and I felt so wonderful. I can't tell you how much it made me feel like I was helping somebody. And he was so grateful. And it just really touched my heart. And I'm like, but I wanted to give more. I'm transitioning. I have been out of work for this I came here to take care of my granddaughter and got a job, but my pay is behind and all that. Yeah. So young women of color, that's my heart. Yeah.
So helping young women of color with developing skills, lifelong skills, in this case, entrepreneurialism, pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And it was because you really felt it was going to make a meaningful difference. Kelly, great question. Wondering what messaging has drawn you in. Have we answered that part? Yeah, I mean, you hit your main, like he was able to connect with you over your.
Well, it was really interesting because I met Simon on one of these with you that you had invited me to attend one of your podcasts. It's not a podcast, I know, FaceTime Live. And, so I connected with a few people, but Simon reached out to me on Messenger and just, would check in with me. How you doing? How's your day? And because I met him through you, I felt much more confident about responding, and he shared with me, what he did and, it was nice, but he just didn't. And I'm not saying he was like annoying or anything. It wasn't like that at all, but he would check in with me every so often, how is your day going? Or he'd have a comment to something I would post because we became Facebook friends. So it was
are hilarious. I
so it was actually him taking the time and effort to build a relationship with me. Yeah. That's the truth.
Yeah.
That, he made the effort, and gave me a reason to respond, to be honest.
So really interesting. An issue you cared about and then stayed connected with you over time. Until it made sense for you to take that action for the right campaign, the right moment.
Yes.
Relationships, Kelly. Yes. Excellent questions.
Yeah.
I love it. That's a really interesting thing to check in on, right? What is it that persuades us to pick one organization after another? And if you're not thinking about that for your organization.
It was for my own reason, because I believe in supporting young women of color.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And this was one way you could do it,
yes.
Not the only way. So that's where he was successful.
Yes. Yeah.
Really very interesting. Yeah. Guys, it's so much more than a party planning and writing appeal letters. This is, we get into the psychology of it. we work with you and I know we've got members in the collab right now writing their sequence for Giving Tuesday. They're starting that now. The emails that will go out, and then the themes of the social media posts, including some questions leading up to it, some engagement posts, so that you're warming your audience up, you're checking in, you're learning, you're checking in to learn more about them as you're designing your messaging of what's going to help them choose you to invest their dollars with you, not because they just care about the issue, but because they also believe in your ability to make meaningful impact in that space. Don't underestimate that. Part of the persuasion is, what was the combination? It's facts and evidence, probably the least. It's a balance of all three, but one alone won't.
It is. I think people tend to believe that facts and evidence carry the most weight, so they spend the most time, and it's just like being hit with it when you're like, but I don't care about that. I care about something slightly different, the whole emotional appeal. I want to help. I want to give. I want to be a part of something bigger than me. And facts and evidence just don't always cut it. They're important, but persuasively, people give them much more weight in the equation than I feel they're worthy of, to be honest.
Yeah, because I think so much of the persuasion is so much more about not what the current reality is, but the ideal future reality, right? So if we fix this, if we train young women with entrepreneurial skills, then what? Right? It's not enough for us to train them. We have to connect the dots for our donors, that if we can help this group of 20 young women, then we can help these families, and it will help these communities. And soon we will eradicate all poverty.
Right.
It's about those hardcore values at the end of the day.
And it's real life issues. Like, if we can help these young girls, they'll have food on the table this week, this month, they'll have access to more clean water. I don't know about you guys, but when the pandemic started, like, everybody was crazy pandemic buying, and we were all afraid that we weren't going to have what we needed. Well, think about, we start thinking about these real life issues. We don't start thinking, well, in the future, it's going to be better. It's like, yeah, but I need, enough soap, and I need food today. I need to make sure that I have toilet paper. We were crazy,
There's a lot of toilet paper.
Yeah. So the future, yes, let's keep an eye on it, but let's look at what's in front of us. Let's look at what's on our plate, and sometimes what's not on our plate.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't have enough to eat.
Yeah.
To
Kelly's point earlier, that folks have to have their needs met. And that's an important part of being able to listen and deepen the connection, is we have to get some basic needs met.
Yeah.
Leslie, ideal future reality, good to think about. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, to persuade, it has to involve some hope.
Yes.
It has to, I call it reasons to believe beyond just facts, because you're right. The facts and the information can be limiting because it paints the picture currently, or the challenges currently. And I think when you can connect those facts plus the actions you're taking to improve the situation to equal, as you said, you want to paint the future reality, but you have to address the realities of the hardships. And for your donors, if you're going to broaden your audience, it can't just be caring about people around, what did Cesar Chavez say? It's not about the lettuce. They can't care about the lettuce or the farming. They have to care about equity and justice and social fairness. And that's really, often what you're selling is one messaging tool above where you spend most of your day. You're selling beyond the mission. You're selling a movement. And in order to have that space people can enter in and be part of that movement, it has to be tied to those higher principles, not just problem solving, but the problem solving to lead where.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But we we have to make sure people's needs are met as we move forward, kind of like a tank, everybody get in, let's bring our supplies, but let's move forward.
We're going to be moving forward. Yeah. Yeah. That's, it's a balancing act. That's an excellent, a point and consideration. And that's when messaging gets juicy with our audience. It gets a lot less vanilla and boring. And we've got it all together. We've got the gala. It's going to be great. We've got the plan, and we got the grant, and we open the program, and here's the one story of our success story. That's a part of it. But when you can get more honest and vulnerable and more open, because you're feeling powerful with sharing that information. You're not feeling like, oh, I don't know what's there, so I have to hide it under the carpet. When you're willing to look, it goes back to where we started tonight, Dorothy, when you're willing to look at yourself and get to a point where you're confident. And I mean this personally in your leadership, but also organizationally, what's working and what's not. And rather than leaving people curious and wanting to dig around to figure it out themselves, incorporate that into your message as part of your persuasion.
Right.
We know what needs to be improved. We're seeking funding to do it. This is how it's going to make a difference.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to help you spin it in the collab. So I'm curious, let us know if you were able to join live. Thanks for saying hi. Kelly Kane is here tonight. Hey, lady, we got to get you on Nonprofit Live. You got to get back to me. You have to have your finger on the pulse. You do it. You got to be connecting dots, and you've got to be agile to do that, because I'll be in meetings and I'll be listening to people, and I might switch gears on the fundraising pitch right there and then based on something they said. I'm not waiting for them to spell it out for me or putting out 70 message until I nail the right one. I'm listening to, oh my gosh, I'm glad you're here because I've had a bunch of voters calling me wondering what's happening with the homeless shelter. Bam, right now I'm hearing he's got pressure. He's got pressure from his constituents that I can use in that persuasive message. Let us help you solve that problem. Let us help you go back to your people with a stronger message that you're working with us to make a difference. When you can think through what are the social, the moral, the political, the economic implications, sometimes we start short on the moral piece. And while I really appreciate that big-hearted component of our industry, these are real investments.
Right.
If you're looking to double your revenue, it's gonna go beyond sad stories. It's gonna have to.
Yes, I agree. Persuasion is for everything. In fact, when I was studying persuasion, one of the questions a professor asked us was, is rhetoric everything or is rhetoric nothing?
It sounds like philosophy.
And at the time I thought it was a silly question. I really did. Like, really, are you asking us that? You're the director. Like, of course you're asking that. But over the years, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so everything. It's so everything, everywhere, everything we do, So yeah, persuasion. And persuasion isn't a one size fits every situation deal either. That's why you need to have as many resources as possible, because you just don't know what's going to make that person connect with you. But you've got to be that watcher, that listener, that connector, and you've got to be ready, just like you were. Go, oh, okay, this is what I can do. Yeah. Persuasion, it's everything.
It's good stuff. It reminds me of an interesting experience I had. I was accepting on a committee. I was working with sponsorship. So I was the contact for sponsors to call, and labor unions were big supporters. And so we get a call from one of the bigger labor unions in the area saying, oh yeah, we're interested in supporting the dinner coming up or the special event you're doing. And it looks like we want the $1,000 sponsorship instead of the $1,500, because we're only going to have 5 people come, and it comes with 5 seats. So right there, I heard she was making a very logical choice. It wasn't investing in mission at that point. It was a transactional decision she was making, right? I only need these benefits. And I'm like, oh, we are in tough territory if we're selling seats, right? Because you never want to be selling seats.
Yeah.
So right there, I was able to say, you know what, whatever level you come in, I can't tell you how important it is just to have you here. And because of your past support and your current and future help, we were able to accomplish these things. And sure enough, by the end of that call, she was going at that $1,500 level, and we knew not to order those dinners. So it worked out. But, that was a really clear moment not that long ago, that in the moment, just by active listening and recognizing my job is to connect dots for people to achieve their goals. That's what we are. We're conductors.
Right.
Making magic happen for people. And it is so fun. And it's what I love about fundraising.
Yeah.
It's an easy ask. It gets easy when you do all that legwork and lay the groundwork of the relationship building.
Yes. And it never ends though, does it?
It does.
I want to say that in a good way. I don't want that to be bad. But if you're talking about a movement, then it's going to move.
Yeah.
So you've got to keep, I like to think of it as a flow, you got to get in that flow and you got to go with it, and you've got to direct the boat you're in going down that stream.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't go off the letter you wrote last year or last month. You've got to be that. You have to have your ear to the ground,
Yeah.
You got
Kelly Kane's saying, finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's getting quiet enough. So much of it is helping dial down the chaos so people can tap into their community and what they want to learn and hear more about. And then you could put out fun content and more interesting content.
Sure.
So that persuades people over time, right? So it's not that one-shot wonder. Dorothy, thank you for being here tonight and giving of your heart and your mind. And you've convinced me. I mean, my daughter is definitely going to be taking mock trial this year now that she's in high school. You've really closed that deal for me on how important it is, and it really is in every aspect of our life. We are negotiating constantly.
We are. I told you I just watched a class on negotiation by an ex-FBI agent.
Yes.
Fascinating stuff. Fascinating. Yeah. See, always learning.
If you can get a hostage to give himself up, right? Wasn't that the situation?
Yeah. And the way he did it, by listening. And he would repeat back to the man what the man said. So the man's like, well, I wasn't going to rob a bank. My friend called me and asked me to drive him to the bank. And he said, he asked you to drive him to the bank? Yeah. He asked me. And then he just got all this information out of this person just by listening, and persuaded him to come out and bring the hostages with him. And it was fascinating. Fascinating
skills he used.
Yes, but you know what? Those are skills we can use too. They really are. Yeah. Yeah.
Like at the post office when somebody's not happy with you. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to take that. Listen, good night, everybody. Leslie's saying good night, and Kelly, thanks guys for joining tonight. It has, the good news is I get to keep talking to you. We're going to invite you into the collab and keep this conversation going, because we're writing persuasive letters of fundraising for our Q4 of the year, helping nonprofits with big missions, big hearts, and big ideas get the resources they need to make all our communities better. Really, we all benefit from their success. So thank you, my friend.
You're welcome. I was so happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, good. We'll talk soon, and everybody have a good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight.